All right, well, this one was pretty simple. A win would send Piedmont to the playoffs, but a loss would end their season, and that's just what we had tonight as Piedmont falls to Weatherford 32-20, bringing their season to a close. Hi, I'm Ben Felder with the Piedmont Citizen, and joining me is the Citizen sports editor, Ben Schuff. And Ben, this was a tough one to swallow for Piedmont. Last week's game, they lose to Elgin, but then a forfeit a few days later is announced, and that gives Piedmont new life. You feel like they go into this game probably with a lot of momentum, but they just weren't able to take care of the game tonight.
Yeah, they got off to a great start. Darius Burris, interception on the third play of the game, and runs it back for a touchdown, and you're thinking this is exactly what they need. Past couple weeks, they got off to some slow starts, and third play of the game, they're already up 6-0. But like you said, over the course of the game, like you said, they were 14-13 at halftime, and then they only end up scoring 6 points, 1 touchdown after halftime.
Yeah. Like I say, second half seemed to be kind of an issue for this team this year, and this isn't the first time that we've seen a Piedmont team that's just kind of been one step behind. Talk about that second half. Weatherford really seemed to just get its running game into gear and just took control that way.
Yeah, the second half was a fairly. I mean, you mentioned Weatherford kind of pulled away. They did with the running game. Piedmont was able to stick with them. They were down. I think they were down by a touchdown late in the fourth quarter actually. And there's a play where Weatherford's quarterback throws a pass, and I couldn't tell if it bounced off of a Piedmont player or if it bounced off their intended receiver, but it bounces off someone and it looks like it's going to be incomplete, and then a Weatherford receiver scoops it up on a third down and runs, I think it was about a 60-yard gain.
Yeah.
And that really ended up being the difference in the game, because up to that point, if I remember correctly, it was 25-20. Weatherford was leading at that point, and it was a third down if Piedmont stops them to get the ball back. But that was really kind of the deal breaker for Piedmont tonight. Yeah,
you talked to Coach Church after the game, and I mean, obviously not happy about the loss, but I mean, talk about what were his thoughts after this one.
Well, he mentioned obviously that the play that I just described was kind of big. I asked him about the turnovers. He had 5 turnovers. Actually, he had 4 interceptions and a fumble Burris had midway through the third quarter, which kind of swung the momentum. Weatherford also had 3 turnovers tonight, so it was kind of a sloppy game in the turnover area, kind of. But the one thing that he kind of talked about was the fact that Piedmont had gotten into the situation where they had to throw the ball, which led to the interceptions, obviously. So maybe not so much into the turnovers themselves, but having to or getting themselves into that kind of a situation.
Yeah. On offense, Brett Adams was out as quarterback to start the game, but then Josh Hampton pretty much took over for the remainder of the night for the most part. We saw Brett come in at a few points, but did he talk at all about the quarterback?
Yeah, I asked him about that, and he said that Hampton had been having a good week of practice, and he said before that Hampton had been playing in some JV games, and that was just kind of the plan to get Hampton, get Josh Hampton in there.
Yeah.
He said he felt like it gave him a good chance to win, so that's what he said about that.
Yeah. Well, the winner of this game goes on to the playoffs. Weatherford wins. They get the playoff spot that was up for grabs. These seem like 2 pretty evenly matched teams, especially in the first half for the most part. I don't know if it's that Weatherford wanted it more, but you're right. It seemed to be the big play seemed to be the deciding factor. And I really just thought that they wore out defense, or they wore out Piedmont's defense in the second half. And we've talked about it before. This is a young team. This is a team that lacks a lot of depth, and that's happened to them a few times this season.
Yeah. You mentioned the defense. Piedmont was able. Early in the game, I mentioned the interception the Burris had. They had another. They recovered a fumble that helped set up their second touchdown of the night. Burris had a touchdown run. If I remember correctly, it was in the first quarter, or maybe it was the second quarter, that Anthony Adigan had recovered a fumble when one of Weatherford's running backs coughed it up. It gave him great field position, scored, I think it was 2 plays later on a 10-yard run by Burris. But back to what you were saying about the running game, I talked with Mickey Seifert, the coach for Weatherford after the game. One thing he said was part of the game plan tonight was to kind of focus on the run. He said he was concerned going in about Piedmont's offense. Had a lot of athletes on that side of the ball, is what he said, and that they were hoping that success in the running game would keep Piedmont's offense on the sideline.
Yeah.
And obviously that was kind of a factor tonight.
Yeah, we talk about some of those playmakers.
The running game.
Yeah, you talk about some of those playmakers. I mean, Funkhauser, one of the kind of main receivers for this team all season, was out with an injury in this game. That definitely didn't help. The good news, I guess, going into next year is this is a fairly young team, which was a challenge this year, but you get a lot of those players back, and they'll try to build on that going into next year. Well, Piedmont ends the season at 5-5, 3-4 in district play. They missed out on the playoffs. It would have been their second year in a row to go had they won tonight. But Piedmont's season comes to an end at Stout Field as they fall to Weatherford 32-20. For Ben Schuff, I'm Ben Felder with the Piedmont Citizen. Continue to check back with PiedmontDaily.com throughout the week for more sports coverage.